This week on Cruisin, presented by Cruisin Times Magazine, driving a classic car can sometimes be challenging.
It's scary to drive them because you cannot see a car on either side.
I had no idea.
It's been varnished a couple of times by us.
Varnished? Now that's something you don't hear about a car every day. And we have our first ever boat on the show.
If you have the Interceptor in it, it's a cop on water.
No wait, please.
It took 3 truckloads to haul it home. It was in so many pieces.
This puzzle came together pretty well. Some old cars came with great options.
There's a fish tank with bubbler system on the other side.
A unique option indeed. Cruisin, presented by Cruisin Times Magazine, starts now. Welcome to Cruisin. I'm John Shapiro, publisher of Cruisin Times Magazine. At the Arthritis Foundation, the 32nd annual Classic Auto Show in Dublin, Ohio. It's home to the 6-foot, and I'm talking 100 6-foot trophies. Come on along, let's take a look.
I have a friend that's into Buicks, and he wheels and deals in Buicks all the time. And I told him I was looking for a Skylark to build up, and he called me up a couple weeks later and said, I found you something even better. I found you a real GS car. So I went out and looked at it and hauled it home. It took 3 truckloads to haul it home. It was in so many pieces. Well, my wife about died when I pulled in, but she does that every car I buy. And whoever tore it apart just threw everything in the big boxes. So I decided to do a frame off on it. So we did a frame off, a 3-year frame off, carousel restoration on it. And my goal in life was to beat out a local Chevelle. So every time I came to the point where should I spend the money on the Buick, well, I'd say yes, I got to do it.
Well, give us a tour around the car. We'll start with the engine.
The engine is a 1970 Buick 455 that's completely rebuilt and balanced.
Everything's got to be right when you do a restoration. So talk about some of the decals you got to replace in the right place. I mean, look at
This car is pretty close to being absolutely correct. There are a few things. The original black would have been flat, and flat is just very, very hard to take care of. So I decided to do it in the gloss black.
What's the official color?
Saturn yellow.
Now, what's the furthest you've been as far as, I know that you're in the National Buick Club, so how long do you?
Well, we drive the car everywhere. We've had it to Batavia, New York. We've had it, well, no, I'm taking it back, not Batavia, we had it to Niagara Falls, New York for a regional meet out there. And we've had it to South Bend, Indiana. And it's been to Franklin, Michigan many, many times.
So you'll drive it to a meet?
Oh, we drive it everywhere, yeah. We've put about over 10,000 now since it's been done.
Normally, Cruisin is about cars, but today we're talking not only with the guy whose name is Pete Cruz, but what's that behind you?
This is a 1958 Chris Craft Silver Arrow.
This is incredible. It's like half car, half boat. Look at the wings on the back. I mean, tell us about the whole Chris Craft situation here.
This was the first Chris Craft that they attempted fiberglassing over the wood hull. So this is a wood boat with fiberglass over the hull. And it was only built in 2 years, 1958 and 1959. And there were only 92 of them ever built. And this was, as far as we know, the very first one that was ever restored.
Take us around the boat a little bit. Start with the wings. That's incredible. I mean,
yeah, that's what entertained us. Back in 1958, this boat sold for $5,400 and some change, which is the equivalency of buying 3 Corvettes today. And so they weren't very popular when it came to purchasing them. But they were known for ski boats. There's actually a ski pole that goes in the middle to where you can take the main flagpole down. And
now, where did you get this?
My father-in-law got bored back in about 1986, I think it was, and he went to an estate sale in northern Minnesota because he had seen one of these in the back of an article, one of his car books, for sale, and he couldn't believe the price of it back then. So he saw this thing in the estate sale, and he went to the estate sale, and lo and behold, he was the only one that bid on the boat.
Now, the restoration starts. How hard was that?
It started back in 1986. This boat was taken completely down. It took about 13 years to fully restore it and get it right. And then in 1997,
When I finally was able to get it running correctly, I decided to take it down one more time and took it to my brother's, Cruisin Classics in Lake Norman, North Carolina. And he and I completely redid it again, which was really pretty much cosmetic. These are the original colors. Everybody thinks I'm an Ohio State fan, but I graduated from the University of Wisconsin. I'm still an Ohio State fan, but these are the original colors.
Interior-wise?
It's the original interior. It's Tango red and white. Everything on this boat is the way it came out of the factory, with the exception for the rubber on the windshield. That was brown. And that brown rubber on the windshield, or the red rubber on the windshield, we painted it red only because I didn't like that ugly brown. We've had a lot of fun in the water. People who know me and know this boat have seen this boat all over the country in the water.
Horsepower and what engine?
It's got a 283 in it. You had your choice when they were built. You could either get a Ford Interceptor, or you could get the Chevrolet motor. This one has the Chevrolet motor in it, and when we put rebuilt the motor, we put a mild cam in it, so it runs real well.
Oh my God, hot rod boat.
Hot rod boat, that's what we said earlier. My brother said it's too bad we can't start this thing because we would turn some heads real quick.
How much fun are you having here at the show with telling people about
Having a ball, having a ball. We get more pleasure out of people coming up and looking at them, and you know, my brother and I, we just love to preserve the history, and that's what we're trying to do.
Well, you certainly have. I'll tell you, this thing is impeccable.
Let's visit Cruisin Marketplace. Tough Stuff Performance Accessories. All Tough Stuff products are quality made in Cleveland, Ohio using 100% new components. Tough Stuff has a complete line of underhood accessories for the custom and hot rod market. All Tough Stuff products meet or exceed OEM specifications. For more information, visit toughstuffperformance.com or call 1-800-331-6562. Next up,
And we've never found another vehicle with the same arrangement ever.
an exclusive piece of GM history coming up on Cruisin, presented by Cruisin Times Magazine.
Big horsepower creates damaging heat that can hurt performance and kill other systems, all while baking the driver. Design engineering products are especially made to control this damaging heat to help you run cool and comfortable all day long. We offer the highest quality exhaust wraps, complete spark plug wire and boot protection, high temperature line and hose sleeving, heat barrier and reflective materials, and a full line of coolant additives. Available at Summit Racing and these other fine retailers.
Welcome back to Cruisin, presented by Cruisin Times Magazine.
My wife and I were out in California and at a breakfast outside. We saw this strange machine coming down the highway. And it was one of these that had been modified in a motorhome. And I told my wife, as I took 3 pictures as it went by, I said, I think GM built those things, but I don't know anything about them. I got back to Michigan and we did a little research, and sure enough, found out GM made 12 of them. So I started looking for one. Found this one in a museum in Indiana in the back, rustling away. They had no means to restore it, so we worked out a deal. We'd take it to Michigan, we'd get some people working on it. And we had a ball for 7 years restoring this vehicle. There were 12 originally built in they started building them in 39, finished in 40. They went on the road in 1941 for a shakedown cruise down in Kentucky in February of 41. They then went on the road, traveling around the country. At the end of 1941 is when the Japanese attacked, and GM then mothballed all of them until after the war.
And how many are left now?
We've been able to track down, when we started the restoration, 9. We're down to 7 because 2 have been scrapped since then.
Judging from your shirt, it's not a misspelling, it's Future Liner without the E. How did that happen?
Yeah. GM, when they made these, they copyrighted the name Future Liner without the E, so no one else could use the name.
I see. I thought maybe people were saying that's a mistake, but
no,
it's
not
real.
a mistake. People try to put E in it all the time, but it has no E.
The Parade of Progress, you've got this thing loaded down, so give us a kind of a quick tour of what we'd see if you were here?
If you come here to look at the feature on it, look at the unique features of it. Number one, it has dual front wheels. And the dual front wheels each wheel has its own set of bearings, so it can make a turn. And each wheel has its own set of brake shoes also. And we've never found another vehicle with the same arrangement ever.
And the drive, the motor's up front.
Yes, it is a front motor, rear drive.
But tell us what it must be like to sit way up there in what I'm calling it's almost like a cockpit.
Yes.
What's it like to drive this?
It's scary to drive them because you cannot see a car on either side. You're sitting dead in the middle, and a short car in front you can't see either. It's very scary to drive. But they did travel as a parade, so they were sort of locked into sequence.
Now the headlight configuration on the front is the most unique thing. I mean, unlike a regular car, I'm just trying to judge myself with, what do you got there? They're so close, I don't see how you see it.
Well, you got 4 headlights, but 2 of them are like fog lights. You notice they're yellow. And so that's how they came.
It could be so foggy that you could be driving in the fog, but down here you wouldn't.
Yes, right. You're absolutely right.
All right, tell us about what you've got. Revolving displays, you've got pictures, I mean history.
Most of the shows were at fairgrounds during the program.
All over America?
All over America. In fact, as far as Cuba. They put them on a boat one year and sent them to Cuba. Each vehicle had a unique display. This one in the 50s was showing the soapbox derbies that were being sponsored by Chevrolet at the time. There was a cutaway jet engine in one because jet engines hadn't come out yet. One had a scientific display, including a working microwave oven in the early 50s, and a full kitchen, modern kitchen. They were all scientific related displays.
You are touring, how many tours do you in the year?
We do 6 to 8 in the year.
Complete volunteer?
All volunteer, 100% volunteers.
Incredible.
We try to put it in a different museum every winter. That way it gets shown all winter. And I think that's very important that we get it shown around the country as much as we can. It's 33 feet long, weighs almost 30,000 pounds. Got a little 145 horsepower engine pushing it. It's fun.
Coming up.
41 and 42 are the only 2 years that Chrysler made this particular body style.
A rare war-era Woody. Next on Cruisin, presented by Cruisin Times Magazine. Now, back to Cruisin, presented by Cruisin Times Magazine.
How rare is this 1942 Chrysler Town and Country?
It's fairly rare. There was about 1,000 built, just under 1,000 in 1942. This is one of 150 that were 6 passengers, and this is the only one remaining of about 17 that is what they call blackout car.
Explain that.
And the blackout car, essentially this car was produced after Pearl Harbor. Even before Pearl Harbor, some chrome was being limited on cars because we were preparing for war. And when Pearl Harbor occurred in December of '41, they really curtailed the use of chrome because chrome is needed in armaments. This car was very heavily laden as originally designed in chrome, and our particular car does not have a lot of chrome. It has chrome bumpers, but the wheels, the moldings, the spears on the hood, the door handles, these cars had a lot of chrome as originally designed in most of the ones that are produced. Of the 17 cars that remain out of that less than 1,000, this is the only one that is a war blackout car.
And the wood is just phenomenal.
Yeah, the wood is beautiful. It is mahogany and white ash, and it is all original. It's been varnished a couple of times by us in the, well, we've owned it almost 50 years now.
And what kind of an engine is under that hood?
It's got a 250 CID straight 6. Not much of an engine. It's kind of a slow car.
The wood is phenomenal, especially in the back, in the trunk.
Right, that is the unique feature.
The curvature
Right.
of the door. I mean, how do they get that done?
Yeah, they call these barrel backs, and they were all, in 41 and 42 are the only 2 years that Chrysler made this particular body style. And it was something to be different from a standard boxy square wagon. This car was designed for a little higher level caliber person, and that's the Town and Country name. That's why they use the Town and Country.
So take us through the interior. Is that leather?
Yeah, it's all leather, all original in this car. Carpets, leather interior, headliner, top bows, everything. Sliding glass in the that's called an airplane style window in the back 2 doors. The plastic was pretty new in the late 30s and 40s. And this is this particular plastic is called a mottled onyx, and it's very pretty. I mean, it has a very beautiful look to it and even a feel to it. It's an early plastic. And this is all the steering wheel, the dash applique, the glove box on the sides of the doors. The doors are all solid wood, and there's no.
So the doors are solid wood?
Yeah, the only metal in those doors are the window cranks, and that's it. Everything else is all wood, solid wood, no metal. It's not wood on top of metal. Fully documented car. Again, this is one, we don't know how many were made as war cars. This car was produced the last week in January 1942. And the week after that, they started building Sherman tanks. So, Chrysler and everybody transitioned. Most everybody was out of the car manufacturing business by the 1st of February. This was a late car. Unusual in some of the documentation includes that the body is actually a September body. I'm talking about the wood. But the chassis of the car, which is basically the undercarriage and the engine and the front of the car, that is a late 1941, 42. So what we figure, some of the experts have figured that this car was probably everything off the bin, What was left was put on this rascal, and then this is what we ended up with. This car had 22,000 miles on it when he bought it, and the original owner had always never put it out in snow, very rarely in water. From 1942 until we figure there's some receipts in there in the early 50s. It only had 22,000 miles, so not a whole lot in the 12 years or so that it was operated. Kind of a 1 in a million type of thing, The ultimate barn find.
Coming up on Cruisin.
As you can see here, the wheel is actually off the ground.
How do you drive it? The wheels are off the ground. Next on Cruisin, presented by Cruisin Times Magazine. Now, back to the Arthritis Foundation Car Cruise on Cruisin, presented by Cruisin Times Magazine.
Well, I'm going to coin a new phrase, from the sublime to the unique. John, this is an incredible elongated car. Tell us all about it. It's a Triumph Mayflower.
A 1949 Triumph Mayflower. It's on a 87 Suburban chassis, which was left over after we stole the big block out of it for another project. We then put a 350 small block in this one, stretched it to make it look more like a Rolls Royce, and then started Suzicalizing it.
And I love the grille. Let's start there. I've seen that somewhere.
Yeah, you've seen it in a light fixture.
Are those look like parking lights or?
No, I got an assortment of lime green plastic items and a couple of plasma orbs from the discount table at the AutoZone.
Oh, and that is your blinkers?
Yes.
Now, let's do the, would that be the gas tank up front, or is that some other concoction you made?
That is the gas tank. There's a matching air tank in the back.
And the hose up front?
That is Horton's nose for the air cleaner.
Now, we have a very large structure, a big round structure on top that seems to go through the car.
Yeah, that's the Dr. Seuss wheel. The car has the ability to drive on the Dr. Seuss wheel or through the air suspension on the regular rear tires.
What are you going through your mind how to construct this? I mean, where'd you sleepless nights?
There's actually quite a bit of geometry involved because you had to put the big tires on the vehicle in order to have the height necessary to have the vehicle inside the chord of the circle.
Right, exactly. And I have no idea what you just said, but I'm sure it's right. Everything, of course, seems like a Dr. Seuss theme.
Well, my wife is a big fan of the Lorax because she does environmental education. She's kind of like a Lorax on steroids.
Oh my. What are your taillights?
The taillights came off of a 59 Caddy.
Well, we got the Christmas tree up there.
Well, that's for the Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
Naturally.
If you can see inside the hood, Horton has big elephant ears.
All right.
There's a fish tank with bubbler system on the other side. There's a game on this side, like the old Frenzy game for the kids to play. There's a search for the kids to go around and find all the different books that Dr. Seuss wrote.
What kind of looks do you get when you drive this down the road?
It gets a few looks, so it kind of brings a stop to the work cruise that we drove by on a couple of houses.
Now, explain the contraption on the back with the long hood. Yeah.
This is Gertrude McFuzz. She's the exhaust system. This where the exhaust comes out. And the head actually goes back and out a little bit with when the wheel goes around. And of course we got the bubble maker here to make sure that she talks to everybody. Yeah,
and the bubble machine really works. Where's Lawrence Welk? I mean,
turn on the bubble machine. And the wheels actually, as you can see here, the wheel is actually off the ground. So I can drive down the road on the big wheel, or for normal transportation, like when we're going 40, 50 mile an hour, I let the big wheel, the wheels on the car down and drag the big wheel up in the air with the air suspension.
Oh, this has to be the most incredible thing we've ever seen. We love it.
I appreciate that.
Well, that puts the wraps on the 32nd Annual Arthritis Foundation Classic Car Show. If you missed it, then you missed a 50-year salute to the Mustang. We'll see you next week on Cruisin.